In this episode, we're diving headfirst into Dizzy Up the Girl, the album that turned the Goo Goo Dolls from scrappy alt-rockers into stadium-filling hitmakers. From Slide to Iris, it's a record soaked in late 90s nostalgia, heartbreak, and big sky choruses. Let's spin back to 1998, when every song on the radio made you feel like you were in your own movie. Stay with us.
Get ready for the 3324 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff. And Eric, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. Chris, stop hitting the microphone.
Sorry, I kicked the table. My bad.
Stop that. Cease and desist.
I apologize.
Okay. Eric.
I don't think I need to be here because I think that introduction pretty much says everything I need to say about this record. Okay. So
bye.
No.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. You hit it right on the head with all the references. So yeah, so anyway, let's get going.
Well, how are you doing besides that?
I'm doing fine. Just
you
fine.
Doing good?
Yeah.
All right.
Status quo.
Good. That's good.
Can't get any better or worse than that, but that I'm fine with that. So.
Yeah. And Mr. Christopher Clark, our noisy guest.
Yeah, I apologize.
Our noisy upstairs neighbor.
There you go. It's good to be here, man. This record's like a nostalgia trip for me, man. Have a lot of memories tied to this one, so I'm glad to be here.
Okay, that's good to hear as well. This is, for me as well. This is not a new. You would think, we always talk about classic rock and this, that, and the other thing, but this was not a new discovery for me. I bought the CD when it came out, actually. So, but let's get into it. If you're new, thanks for joining us. We appreciate that. It's great to have you here. If you're a returner, you know the deal. We are always grateful. And what you can do is, if you like it, spread the word. If you're already here, we actually, we set our traps and the traps worked. So that's good. We've got you here. Kind of like Star-Lord when he throws that thing and the people get like magnetized onto it. Like that's what our podcast is.
Yeah.
But now if you could take the next step, go ahead and share it. If it's on social media or send somebody a text with a link. If you think if they like this type of content and classic rock and classic movies, go ahead and share it. That'd be, do yourself a favor and be a really good friend. Really good friends do this for their friends, right?
Well said.
If you're a good friend, you will share this podcast with people.
Very well said.
Absolutely.
And a tongue twister to boot. You have the knack, man. Say it 5 times fast.
All that non-alcoholic beer.
Anyway, on the other hand, I'm enjoying some Jameson on the rocks.
Oh, it's about time.
Yeah.
What is it? Is that an autumn thing? Because all summer you've been drinking tea and this, that, and the other thing. And now that the weather's changing, is that what?
Yeah, I had a pretty dry summer. So,
okay.
Yeah, October is the month to get a little
nice,
little nuts. So
little nutty Irishman with the gin.
There you go. Yeah,
I like it. If you have any recommendations for Eric, you can use the fan mail or contact us in your podcast provider, in your podcast app. There's a little contact us. If you want to give Eric some recommendations besides Jameson, go ahead, send it our way. We'll take a look at it.
My birthday's this weekend, so anybody want to hit me up with a bottle of Macallan or something?
Wow,
man, reaching for the stars, Macallan.
I asked for a recommendation. He's actually shilling for product now. We went from give him a recommendation.
Well, I'm noticing that's starting to become a thing now with podcasts. People are actually giving gifts to the host now and shit, and I'm like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, a lot of
where's our booty? Let's go.
My booty's in my seat. Sitting down. That's about the only booty that we're going to get. But you know what? Just listening and checking in with us, we appreciate that and sitting down for our conversation. So let's get into the Goo Goo Dolls, Dizzy Up the Girl. This was released in September of 1998. That would have made me in September of 1998. Okay, we'll leave that. Produced by Mr. Rob Cavallo. We've done episodes with production by Rob Cavallo before. He's no stranger to the show. And it was also produced by the Goo Goo Dolls. There were 5 singles released from this album. Iris hit number 9, slid right past, and number 8, Dizzy, did not chart, at least on the top 100 or top 200. It was on other charts. Black Balloon, number 16, Broadway, number 24. This hit 15 on Billboard. And if you divide that by 3, you've got their platinum, 5 times platinum out the door. That's a solid number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much probably on, I mean, everything I've read, I was reading a lot of just like user reviews and listener reviews, and almost every review mentions Iris. Like, oh, this is the album that Iris is on. This is the one that has Iris. And as many people love it for that, as many people dislike it. Oh, this is the one with Iris on it. Like, I can give you the same sentence, and it'll depend on how you read it.
The inflection there.
And funnily enough, it wasn't where Iris dropped the summer before because it was in the movie City of Angels. So that was kind of like the primer for the record, but it actually came out a few months before the album itself came out.
Seth Plate.
I would have been probably more apt. I was probably listening to that more than actually this album at the time. And there's actually a lot of songs on that soundtrack.
Uninvited by Alanis Morissette's a phenomenal cut too.
I Agree by movie. Gabriel would have been on his Up album, which was released maybe like I think 4 or 5 years later.
Yeah,
in 2002. So we're that was pretty. Angel, Sarah McLachlan, that her album I think was just hitting there.
And that was a remake of the I'm going to say Wim Wenders, was probably Wim Wenders, but Wings of Desire, which is a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it is.
It's a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah,
it really is. So but Nicolas Cage this is when Nicolas Cage was still like an actor.
Yeah.
Like he's not that he's not an actor now, but he was, in Hollywood and signing a movie.
Hey, he was trying, man.
This is when he only did like 1 movie a year and not 7. He actually, didn't have as many bills to pay. Anyway, we'll get a little bit into that. A brief history of the Goo Goo Dolls. They're based in Buffalo, New York. They were formed in 1986. They were really actually a pretty punky band. I remember when I was in college in 1990, 91, somewhere around there, I had a radio show, and it was a college radio station. So it was all college stuff at the time. And I went to college a little bit older. I didn't go right out of high school. So I was like already like the outcast, but I remember playing the Goo Goo Dolls, like the punky stuff was on our, we used to have to play certain things. And I remember that. And it was basically, the Goo Goo Dolls are essentially John or Johnny Resnick and Robbie Takak.
Yeah, that's how I pronounce it too.
And he was actually the lead singer of the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yep.
And it wasn't until a few albums in that John Resnick kind of started to assume the mantle.
That's interesting.
And and I think it's gonna come up.
I had no idea that this band was even around that long, to be honest.
Yeah, 86, 87, I think the first record came out.
They were real, Eric. Wow. They were real punky. They were not pop. They were real. It was really that alternative stuff that was going around in the late 80s, early 90s.
Right. Yeah.
Because I remember, the stuff we used to play when I had a radio show was like stuff I was not connecting with at all for the most part. But I remember the name the Goo Goo Dolls, when you used to have to play a certain track or you could play certain tracks off of it, whatever they would tell you, and you had a little thing. But they were, so when they kind of came out, like got popular as this more mainstream band, I'm like, oh, wow. Kind of like a Green Day.
Yes.
Type thing, kind of like some of the, bands that had kind of were one thing, although Green Day still, we can absolutely make the argument that Green Day has retained more of their punk aesthetic than Goo Goo Dolls. I mean, Goo Goo Dolls really, really went, kind of pop rock.
Yeah.
Pop alt rock, whatever you want to call it.
They kind of remind me, and people probably like start sending in like you're out of your mind type of messages, but they kind of remind me of like the Replacements insofar as like the early Replacements records were like really like super punky.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time the Replacements called it a day, there was a lot more of a pop sensibility to them. And, while still having that like alt type of edge, but the Replacements couldn't get out of their own way. Whereas the Goo Goo Dolls kind of were able to find that pot of gold with records like this one. So
yeah, I think that has to do with John Resnick kind of taking over.
Yeah,
because there are on this album. There are shades of like what the Goo Goo Dolls kind of were,
right,
a little bit.
And those are the cuts that the bass player sings on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So. Before we get into that, we haven't done this on an episode in a while, Eric, but this album came out in 1998, so I thought it would be fun to look at the music scene in 1998, and I was quite surprised. It was still quite eclectic. There was a lot of stuff going on. You had the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill,
yep,
which was a monster.
Yeah, that record was huge.
Released after she left the Fugees. Fugees. That was huge. You had Hello Nasty by the Beastie Boys.
Intergalactic
by Madonna. I mean, she was still doing it. Adore by Smashing Pumpkins. Volume 2, Hard Knock Life by Jay-Z. Mutations by Beck. Celebrity Skin by Hole. I bought that album when it came out. I was on top of it. That was kind of, I was like, all right, it's pretty good. What else? Yield by Pearl Jam. So they were still hitting it there. Sketches for My Sweetheart the Drunk, Jeff Buckley. We were just talking about Jeff Buckley before we went on.
Yeah.
System of a Down, Devil Without a Cause. I admit that I bought Devil Without a Cause when I was buying a lot of this stuff. I liked Devil Without a Cause when it came out. I'm not a Kid Rock fan now.
I hate to admit it. I hate to admit that I like that record.
Yeah, too. I love that. I thought that album was really great.
It was a good record, man.
Yeah, when it came out, I'm like, this is nice.
And it was like, when I was in college. That album was everywhere. We played it on the radio station. It was in every bar you went into. Everybody was playing that record when it came out.
Devil Without a Cause. I'm going platinum.
No, yeah.
No, he had that song Only God Knows Why, which is a really good song.
Yeah.
He had Joe C., his hype man, the little person who I loved. Joe C. He was just kind of like out on the stage, kind of doing moves.
I don't want to make this a Kid Rock episode. I saw the Vans Warped Tour before he hit, and he was like one of the side stage bands. And I just remember that day walking up and down going, yo, that guy on the side stage has a 6-year-old singing with him because he thought it was a little kid.
Yeah, no, it's Joe C., man. I liked him. And he kind of rapped a little on the album. And then we had Americana by The Offspring.
Another good album.
So that it was, there was that a nice mix of legacy artists. Like Madonna was already a legacy artist by then, and you had Lauryn Hill, but then you had Beastie Boys. It was just like I don't think we're seeing this type of stuff on music charts anymore. I'm not saying this music is not out there. Well, we don't really see it on the charts today. I'm in grumpy old man mode.
I mean, they didn't really their next record. I saw them open for Bon Jovi when when the Goo Goo Dolls record after this came out. It's called Gutter Flower, and that album only went gold, and then they kind of like faded away after that.
Yeah, this was their big one. So
I mean, the one before it hit pretty big too because that one had Name on it. But this,
which I love that song.
Yeah, that record's good too. There's another one on there called
That Was a Boy Named Goo.
Yep.
I think it was called.
Yep.
It was. That was the name of the album.
Boy Named Goo.
Boy Named Goo. Goo. Like something. It's almost like a name of an Adam Sandler movie. A Boy Named Goo.
Yeah.
But this was their 6th album. Like I said, and MTV had a lot to do with it. I mean, John Resnick is tailor-made for MTV.
Yeah.
He's got the looks. He's got the brooding looks.
A little bit of the glam thing going on, I dare say, right?
Yes.
So
he had the what?
Glam
thing happening too.
Yep.
Like sort of
absolutely
little hints of Bowie there, maybe, or
Yeah, the brooding good looks, the husky voice, which was a little different.
Yes.
Which I love his voice. I love John Resnick's voice. It's very distinctive. You know it's him. It's scratchy. It's husky.
Yeah.
Which gives it that little extra piece of authenticity, I think. I for some reason at this time when I was thinking about this album, I was thinking about Third Eye Blind. because they were huge popular around the same time, but and they were kind of similar. But Third Eye Blind, Stephen Jenkins, his voice is kind of more of that, smoother, and Goo Goo Dolls are a little dirtier, a little bit rougher. Even though the material is, like Iris, the ballad is great, but it's that husky voice that sells that delivery, right? I think it helps sell the heartache of the sad songs.
Yep. Yeah. And like Third Eye Blind, I mean, one of the things you could say about both of these bands is like hooks for days, man. Like whether it's like a ballady song or a little bit more of like an up tempo or one of the punky ones, that's what really draws you in and keeps your attention. Is every one of these songs there's like some kind of hook that you find yourself humming along or tapping on the steering wheel. Like every one of them, like every single song on this album.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that's what hit me with this. And I said it in the open. By the time the video for Broadway came out, I'm like, all right, I need to get this. Like I couldn't push it. I couldn't push it away any further. Between Slide, which has just a classic opening riff.
Yep.
That guitar, that descending guitar riff. It's like, geez, I couldn't deny it anymore. I'm like, I got to pick this album up. And then
that video will get you, man. That's a great video. Yeah.
So they just, hit at the right time, a perfect example of that alt pop. I think, Eric, we've talked about it in the past where grunge kind of evolved. As it got more and more popular. It got a little bit more poppy. I don't want to say watered down, but you start to see stuff like the Offspring all of a sudden being popular, and the Goo Goo Dolls made that transition, right? They were a punky band, but over time, kind of smoothed out the rough edges.
And see, that's the thing about this record that frustrates me, because you guys know I'm not the biggest punk fan. So stuff tends to get a little repetitive for me. And even on albums like this, a lot of the stuff is just very kind of similar in that way, but it's the hits like Iris. It's the songs like Iris and All Eyes on Me I actually like, because it sounds like an old, like an 80s tune. There's a little hints of like shades of like pop 80s, like little keyboard flourishes and things like Black Balloon, again, another Iris type. But it's those moody orchestrate, with the orchestration and all that in the songs that really grab me, makes it interesting. When you hear a lot of the stuff, like the hooks are great, like Chris was saying, but I tend to kind of tune that out because it just sounds too similar to me, track to track. But I'm glad that, especially in the sequencing of this record, they actually managed to put those in there. So now you have to listen to the, you got to kind of, to grab the whole experience, you got to kind of listen to it all the way through. And that's the genius of sequencing.
But I think in this album, the first three songs, it's almost like you're on you're hooked up to a hang glider and you're standing at the edge of a cliff and you jump off. The first three songs set the momentum for this album. It really does. I'm not saying how high it sets the bar. It's just kind of Dizzy, Slide, and Broadway are just boom, boom, boom. Like three shots out of a cannon that say, okay, this is, to Eric's point where it says it's a little same, but it's like, this is what you can expect. This is the sound of this album, and it sounds gorgeous. Like you said, like the orchestrations of Black Balloon or Iris is fantastic. It's a beautiful sounding album.
And even Dizzy, Dizzy, the opening track just kills it. I mean, that really phenomenal. That's probably my favorite, like, fast number on the record. I mean,
and that big chorus at the end on that song is awesome.
Yeah. And for all intents and purposes, the Goo Goo Dolls are a 3-piece band. It's drums, bass guitar, and lead guitar. And every time you see Resnick, you usually see him with an acoustic guitar, but he's doing all that electric work too.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
But what I did notice is there's not really any solos.
Well,
there's electric guitars on this album, but there's not really a little bit, like Iris has a little bit of a solo, but which is okay with me. It's just the song construction, which really sets this album apart from, being mature enough to know when to use strings to augment what you're trying to get across.
Yeah.
And really, and not being afraid to, like, coming from, just, I remember, that time, I got really into punk in high school and college, and just the idea of, like, if you sign to a major, or if you try to, like, make a single, like, right away you're a sellout and you've cheesed out. And, like, on a certain level, there's a certain element of, like, am I brave enough, or am I confident enough in myself and in my songwriting to say, I'm damn the torpedoes, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do, even if it gets me billed to sellout. Like that, there's a certain level of bravery that goes with it. And I think I remember reading somewhere that, or not reading, I remember him seeing Johnny Resnick do an interview, right, where he was talking about that period after A Boy Named Goo, and Name, he got a little of that flack from Name, like from the longtime fans of the Goo Goo Dolls. And he actually had writer's block for a little while before he wrote Iris. And Iris was the first song he wrote for Dizzy Up the Girl. So, like, even he, I think, struggled with a little of that within himself before I think he got himself past that and said, this is what I have to do, and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And I think also the I'm going to call it a power shift. I don't know if it exactly is, but from Robbie becoming was the main vocalist and the lead vocalist to things turning upside down. There's that changes the sensibility of the band. And if you read about John Resnick, he had a tough childhood. I mean, the song Broadway is literally about his father taking him to a bar when he was a kid and sitting there. And his father would give him some money to, play pinball or whatever, and he would see all these old guys sitting there, and then they'd bring their sons in, and the sons would sit in the bar, like that. See the young man sitting in the old man's bar,
right?
And then his father died when he was like, I think his mother and father died within a year of each other, and he was like really young. He was like 12, 13, 14, and he had 3 or 4 older sisters who took care of him.
Yeah.
So so you can I think with this album, it's important to listen to the lyrics. Like this, the hooks get you in, and I think, like Eric was saying, it's kind of it's the stuff that's underneath, though. That's the interesting stuff with this album.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Does that sound about right? Did I encapsulate that, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. I like I said, though, but it's hard. It's a little bit harder for me to grasp. If I have to listen to, I have to get there. For the song to grab me, in the sense of it being, if it's just a straight, sort of same type of, time signature or riffs, I need to, really dive into the lyrics at that point, because otherwise I tend to, what's next, that kind of thing, but songs, again, the genius of this record is the fact that you have these songs like Slide with that interesting opening riff, and songs like Bulletproof.
Yep. Oh, Bulletproof.
With that opening riff too. It's like, okay, this is interesting. This grabs my attention. What do you got for me in terms of lyric now? Now I think they have something to say here.
Yeah.
It almost as if they're putting that on display, like they're building to something serious here, and you want to, you could kind of tell the difference between the two. You know what I mean? So it's like, but it takes a while, if a few listens in, and I got into it. I was just, because it wasn't an album, again, that I wasn't all that familiar with at the time.
Yeah.
So
I think the way it's set, like you said, the way the album is sequenced, it makes it easy. It makes an easy entree into it.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're like, oh wow, okay, I know that song, or this song is kind of up tempo for an opening track, and then there's 2 like popular songs right after it. So it does kind of slide you in.
And you know what? And the other piece to it too is, like, when you think about Resnick is like more of the pop sensibility, and like it's almost like they have it sequenced in a way where, like, okay, well, maybe for those people who are starting to burn out a little bit on some of the more poppy and, like, ballady stuff, then all of a sudden you go into like an Am I Gone, where it kind of picks up the tempo a little bit, and maybe that brings you back, and then before you start to burn out in some of the other the more pop oriented
stuff. So
stuff.
Since you brought it up, that is, I think that's the Achilles heel of this album.
Do you really? I think
Yes,
it's. I think it's. I think it's what makes it great.
Robbie Takak's. His vocals are so different, and they're from a different era. His vocals are from a different era.
Oh, absolutely. But
That when the 4 songs that he has, that like that's the thing that actually takes me out, because his writing isn't as strong as Resnick's. His vocals are very punky, but this isn't a punk album anymore. And so I understand, it's like, okay, well, he was the original singer, so we got to kind of give him some. But for me, I'm like, okay, here comes another one, because he just like he's a good bar band vocalist. Like, if you heard him in a bar, you'd be like, okay, this is like a bar band. Compared to Resnick, compared to the level that Resnick was on. Resnick was using alternate tunings on this album. He was using like B, D, 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 like just really kind of going crazy with stuff. And then you get like a kind of a standard kind of alty punky song that's kind of just standard. Then you get something, like acoustic number 3 after it.
Acoustic number 3 is phenomenal.
Yeah. So like, I think what it did with what, Eric?
I'm sorry. Again, that mood, that atmosphere to it has
exactly. I think what Robbie's songs do is they really kind of highlight how good Resnick was, and how Robbie didn't seem to really advance. He's almost like he was stuck in a different band. It's like, you're going to get your songs, but it's kind of like,
But like, I think like January Friend and Am I Gone, like those 2 songs, I think are, again, they're not on the level of, like, I guess not on the level of, but like, I think they're pretty strong tunes. Like, those are to me, they're earworms. Like, I definitely feel myself humming along, or like I remembering him. And I thought, his bass line on Am I Gone was really cool. Like, just that but I grew up loving punk. So like, as much as I love progressive, I don't have punk almost as much. So
I don't have a problem with it. It's just out of place here. Like this album is totally something else. Like his songs are not Slide, Black Balloon, Iris, anything. Like there's no similarity. It's like he's not taking the same trip that Resnick was. Almost like
he wants to either, right?
Apparently, again, and it is what it is, and some people welcome that. For me, it took me out of kind of going with the stuff that Resnick was doing, and the kind of the sequencing. I'm like, ugh.
Well, it begs the question: do you guys know if there was any sort of animosity going on within the band?
I was always under the impression that they were kind of a team. Like, they got along really well.
Yeah,
right.
So there was that mutual understanding. It's like, they're in your corner, but this is my thing. I'm spreading my wings here. Here, you could do, kind of thing. So, well, that's actually kind of cool, though. I mean, you're
he almost became like the George Harrison. Like he gets his allotted songs, and they became. I looked at some of their albums after this, and it got less and less.
Yeah,
Okay. So again, like, I'm not trying to drag the guy, but what he's doing, it sticks out in this album. And maybe that is a benefit, that you're getting a different look at some stuff, because I wrote in my notes that he's still carrying the punk roots, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just can't get past his voice.
I don't know. To me,
if he wrote if Resnick sang those songs that he wrote, I'd probably be like, okay, but it's his voice that I can't,
I felt like it fit. I mean, but that, again, like, I don't know if it's just because I don't know if it's because of my appreciation for punk, but that's
why we do this show.
Well, then there's just an integrity factor too. It's like, this is what we were. I want to keep that going, kind of thing. So this is fans of that stuff will still get some of that, but we're branching out here. So
and I totally get that.
Yeah,
it's not my cup of meat, as they would say in the song Mighty Quinn.
Quinn the Eskimo, yeah.
That's right. It's not my cup of meat. But it's, like I said, for me, it's a glaring thing. It really stuck out each time that song came on. I'm like, I'm like, okay, this is not John Resnick singing. So I was just like, okay. But otherwise, again, this album is brilliant. And maybe it's brilliant because they said, we're not going to just, chuck everything out in the street. and maybe Resnick is like, well, I'm kind of on a different path, but this is what the Goo Goo Dolls were, or closer to what they were, and put it on.
Maybe, or perhaps there was a fear of like maybe people just wouldn't embrace the fact that we're totally changing here. If they were to have an entire album of, say, songs like Iris and Slide and things like that. I mean, would people embrace it as much? Maybe there was just, well, we need to kind of stay on the tracks a little. At least half of the album needs to be that way in terms of So, but I think it's a good thing.
But it's what
Chris's point. It's like you still have those. There's something in it for old and new fans.
So. I get that.
And we talk about several bands where we talked about what that have done that. So this is nothing new. So.
But it must be like a thing, because I went and I pulled up the discography on Wikipedia, and Gutter Flower, same thing, 4 songs, and they're kind of spaced out the same way. It's almost like they had an understanding, like, I need to get four punk shots in for you to do the rest of the record.
Wherever he's at, right? I mean, it's just that's where he's at. I should, when we're done, I should have done it actually beforehand. If I'm a good host, I should have checked out those songs on either A Boy Named Goo, because I'm sure he had a few, or the one after, and see if he was still, if that's his thing. Like, if that's his lane, that's his lane. That's what it is, know. So it would be interesting if he kind of.
How interesting do you think would this album have been if it had been an entire side of Resnick's style of songs, and then the other side complete punk?
That would have been a little too jarring. Like, I think I feel like what makes it work is his songs. And again, I think too much. I mean, I'm tripping on my words here. I think too much of Robbie's type of music would have gotten a little bit grating, but I think there's just enough to make it interesting. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, there's 13 songs on the album.
View here going on, which is great. See, we're Dean is on one side, you're on the other, and I'm kind of in the middle. Yeah, so I'm just sort of like loving the fact that there's these two different perspectives. I'm thinking of albums like Speaker Box, Love Below, like Andre 3000, and where one whole album is just nothing but rap, and the other is just Andre 3000 doing this whole like other types of stuff, like soul and in different genres of music, and it was so distinctly separated, and yet they're the same group, right? I mean, it's like it's supposed to be like this one thing, and yet they're doing they're each going off and doing their own thing, which is I thought was interesting at the time. So
yeah, I don't know if they're that experimental. I think it's more because you got 13 songs and he's got like 4, so he's got about a quarter of the album,
and just for the and
they're peppered throughout.
And on the previous record, there are 6 writing credits that Robbie Takik has, but they're in tandem with Johnny Resnick and the original drummer. So there's 6 songs written by all 3 original members, and then the rest of the record is the other half of the record is Resnick on his own. So which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it might have been like, and we don't know what was going on during those sessions. It might have been, let's write these together. And then by the time they reconvened for this, Robbie might have been like, hey, I've got a bunch of stuff.
And I've got a bunch of
stuff ready to go.
And I know they had a falling out. The reason the original drummer left after A Boy Named Goo was falling out over songwriting royalties. Yep. So
cha-ching, money will. I need a money sound effect.
Yeah,
I need a cash register.
Yeah,
because that will always do it. It's like money will always cause people to will cause friction.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to songwriting and who's, we talked about that in the band episode, Eric, right? Because Robbie Robertson was shoveling the money like Uncle Scrooge, and diving into the sea of gold coins, and then the band is like up top looking at him.
Yeah,
while he's swimming in all the money.
Yeah,
so that will do it. Black Balloon, heroin addiction. I mean,
Yep.
there is a lot of there's some deep content for such a poppy album. And I think that's the thing about the Goo Goo Dolls is like this has like this album just has a dark undertone. Even the stuff that's up tempo, there is a layer
Mhm.
in Resnick of like there's a layer of melancholy. Like even a song as loving, so deeply loving and emotional as Iris, there's that sadness with it too.
Mhm.
Right.
And just so like I think his life experiences really inform kind of what his style is.
I personally think, because I happen to just this is that song for me is the reason I would ever be interested in this record.
Mhm.
To be honest, I mean I love that song.
Mhm.
And like you pointed out, I think musically speaking, lyrically, it's a beautiful. He's saying some really beautiful things, but I feel like where the melancholy is coming in is it's perfectly encapsulating what love is all about. When that ache, that sort of when you're in love and there's that longing and all that kind of stuff that goes with it, and then of course there are the bad times and all that kind of thing, and that song really kind of just grabs you that way. So it's a masterpiece, I think, in terms of what it of the emotion feeling that you get from you derive from it. So it always stand out, and as many times as I hear it, it's one of those songs that for me just it does never gets old. That I even did it at karaoke a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean,
rather badly. People said, "Hey, you got like Dee pointed out the scratch in his voice. I actually nailed that it came naturally when I did it, and people were like, "I can't believe you did. You sounded like you got that in your voice. How did you do that?" And I'm like, "I have no idea."
are you sure that scratch wasn't a little Jameson
I
at
was waiting for that.
karaoke?
Asked me to do that
Jameson
today.
assist?
No, it wouldn't happen. But no, yeah.
Yeah, and just the arrangement of it, right? They really with Iris, they really went for it with the strings and just even the drums have a big sound to them, right? I mean, there's really just kind of like amping up and raising the stakes, really taking it out of like the rock
Mhm.
arena and bringing it into like into a rock anthem arena.
Yep. Power ballad.
Yeah, really kind of hit it. Yeah, so there's a Bob Cavallo and there's a Rob Cavallo. So when they were doing this, there's a father and son, and when they were doing the soundtrack to City of Angels, they were one, that's what we mentioned, Alanis Morissette. So, Bob and Rob said, well, you take one artist and I'll take the other to work with. So Bob took Alanis Morissette to work on Uninvited, and then Rob took the Goo Goo Dolls.
Interesting.
So Bob and Rob Cavallo kind of split it up. And yeah, and actually Resnick says that he was actually thinking about Nicolas Cage's performance in the movie. So he didn't write the song after before the movie. He was kind of saw the movie and they approached him, hey, do you want to write a song? And then he kind of was able to tailor it, which is really, I haven't seen that since God. I mean, it used to be on TV like all the time in the 90s, like when it was out, or in the 2000s.
Yeah.
It's never on TV anymore. Might be worth checking out.
I don't think I've ever seen it the whole way through.
Who the hell else was in it? Was Forrest Whitaker the other angel, Eric?
I believe so.
It was Forrest Whitaker, right? That was the other angel. I think that, and they were just like sitting on the edge of like billboards, looking. Nicolas Cage always looking sullen.
It was pretty decent. I recall. I think I've only seen it once.
Yeah. Meg Ryan.
But I mean, obviously, the original is a great film, but it's but here, no, I think what really sells it though is the music, and there's a lot of great tracks on the soundtrack. I mean, I think it's worth talking about at some point.
Yeah.
If we could, do both a little bit, we could hit on both. That
was a time where movie soundtracks were kind of like huge. Like I remember that was like the same year that you had City of Angels. You also had the soundtrack to the horrible Godzilla movie, and that had a lot of hits on it too.
Oh my God, yeah.
You mean the one with Hank Azaria?
Yeah.
I don't know. No, it was Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, Hank Azaria was in that. I was
I haven't seen it.
Rod
I haven't
going a
seen it in
couple of
30
actors
years. So
down.
My Lord, it was so horrible. But
yeah,
yeah,
that was
you're
a
right,
bad
Chris. I
movie.
mean, Clapton was on the soundtrack. So was Hendrix,
Yep.
Red House, Paula Cole's "Feel in Love," which I love that song.
Are you
So
talking
sad.
about Godzilla, or are you talking
No, I'm
about
talking about
Stephen?
Steve
Okay.
Going back.
Angel by Sarah McLachlan, Peter
Yeah,
Gabriel.
yeah.
Wow.
You
Holy
too.
crap.
You too.
Yeah, U2 was on there too.
Mhm.
So yeah, he said he really wanted to kind of, once he heard the heavyweights that were going to be on there, it's like, I got to get in there, which is that's an interesting thought
Yeah.
for an artist that, like we said, that, they had, the song name. So there were rumblings, but they weren't huge. But then it's like, if I can get on this soundtrack album with all these big artists that people will probably buy the album for,
Mm-hmm.
I can get my music heard. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I'll be in the mix with Alanis Morissette and U2, like, and then Goo Goo Dolls. It's like, okay, but they ended up swinging for the fences and hitting it out. Right? I don't
Absolutely.
think we don't
Yeah.
talk about any other song really. Uninvited that
Uninvited,
was on her
definitely too.
album too, wasn't it? Or no?
No, that was an independent track.
It was only on this. Okay.
And then it was on her.
Yeah.
It was on her Unplugged too. She did a really
Okay.
great version of it
Yeah.
on her Unplugged.
But it wasn't associated, or even I don't think it was even written for any other album. It was just an independent track by itself. I don't know if it was specifically tailored for the movie or not, but I think her second solo record, her second record, might have been. I think that came out the same year
after this.
99. It came out
99,
in the very beginning of 1999. Because I remember buying it for my girlfriend, now wife, when I went to visit her that in 99. Yeah. So
interesting. It was not Uninvited, not to go too far off, was not released as a physical single in the United States. So it was not allowed to chart on the Billboard Hot 100 at the time because it was not a physical single release. Even though radio stations were playing it.
It was on K-Rock all the time. Both K-Rock, Uninvited and Iris. I remember you couldn't turn on a radio without hearing either of those two songs.
Yep. That's
they
right.
were everywhere.
Yeah.
It was and that again, we're also talking the MTV effect. So MTV was playing Iris constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like I said, because and Resnick was just tailor made for MTV.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of looks like Cillian Murphy.
He does. He
Cillian Murphy in like the pouting or the they don't look exactly the same, but there's something. There's like
facial features are similar.
Very pronounced.
Yeah, the jaw
line and the high cheekbones.
Yeah, you got
the pouty lips.
Almost looks like even then he had like work done.
Yeah.
But because people are commenting on that today, like what happened to your face? Like to me, he kind of looks the same.
He looks the same. Yeah.
So
if they ever do a biopic of Goo Goo Dolls, they got Cillian Murphy. They could de-age him for the young stuff. Get Christopher Nolan on the phone. They'll do it in IMAX.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's called Goo.
Goo.
World of Goo. Actually, that's a video game, World of Goo, so they can't use that. Oh
man.
All right. Well, you know what? I mean, again, this album for me is like a 90s warm blanket. We talk a lot about older music, and this album is 27 years old. But it's from a time when I think about it, or when Eric and I first started this podcast, I would be like, I wasn't listening to a lot of music. It turns out I was listening to a lot of music during then, and I was buying a lot of CDs. Like I was buying this. I bought like Fastball, which had the Way on it.
Yeah.
Like I was buying a lot of this music. I just didn't. Maybe I was just blocking it out that I really wasn't.
See, I wasn't. That's the thing. That was the draw for me. Was like of course, it's all over the radio, and then of course, social situations, things like that. But a lot of this music just passed me right by, and just the idea of sitting down and actually listening, like I used to with headphones, and just absorbing an album.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't happen much in the 90s because I wasn't really buying albums in the 90s.
I know for me, like this is just you hear tracks from this record, and it's like being back at St. Thomas Aquinas College, hanging out, and being at the radio station, and like all of those things that I did in college. Like this is one of those songs that was just kind of like one of these albums that was just kind of always on. And what was interesting about it is like everybody was listening to it, like regardless of the style of music you liked. It was always like one of those records that everybody knew and everybody appreciated to some degree.
It was, I would say, very accessible. I
Yes.
dare say it was probably when everybody had cassettes in the 80s in their car. Everybody had CDs in the 90s in their car, and this was probably on sitting on the floor of everybody's car, like the
100%.
stepped on and scratched, and
or in that stupid thing that you put above your head on the
wallet,
visor.
the CD
probably
wallet.
just as accessible as I would say, like anything like Journey Escape.
Yes,
that kind of a record where, like you say, Chris, everybody knew it, everybody played it.
Yeah, it was ubiquitous. And then the thing about it that I find interesting and that stuck out to me is like, this is also the age of let's see how much shit we can shove onto a CD. And this is still very, it's 45 minutes and like, it's not in everything but the Kitchen Sink album. Everything is listenable.
Yeah.
There's really not a bad spot, truly bad spot wherever the needle falls, and this was a time where, again, like, you would get like 15 tracks and like maybe 7 or 8 were good. Like this is like a consistent album all the way to the end.
Yeah, that was a foible of the CD era is because we have the room, we should put everything on it. Chris, just to go back to something you said, I need to confess that if you go into my car right now, I have a CD visor attached. There's no CDs in it, but because I have a CD player in my car, I have the visor where you put you could put like 12 CDs in it.
I shoved so many CDs in that stupid thing when I had it. Oh my god!
You had the book on the passenger side or in the back, but always on the floor. Again, stepped on, footprints all over it. Yeah,
the visor is currently in effect in 2025 in my car.
Yeah. Oh man!
So I gotta start putting some CDs in there. Just have some stuff in there.
And then I just remember having tape cases all over my first car when I was still listening.
Eric will tell you about that. My car was like a fucking warehouse. It's just like tapes. Oh, like we reach under the seat. Oh, what's this? Let Me Up, I've Had Enough by Tom Petty.
Yeah, and then
that's right.
My first car didn't have a tape deck, so I used to keep a ghetto blaster on the front seat, and that's how I listened to tapes driving around.
Our friend Johnny used to keep didn't he used to keep the boombox in the front seat in the LTD?
I think so, but he
didn't have a tape deck. That had like an AM radio.
Yeah, but his thing was that car was so meticulous.
Yeah.
Because he was, and his tape case was like this, one of those that clamps shut like a lunchbox. You press the, the snapshot, you press it in and it pops open, and every tape was pristine. There was never any.
Yeah, not like mine. Broken
cases
everywhere.
What a contrast there. That would go to
the ones that melted in the heat from the sunlight and stuff.
Case would be in the front, tape would be in the back.
Yeah, that was my car for sure.
Eric would be like, "Oh, let's listen to Brian Wilson." And there's no
you got the and if there was a tape in the case, it was not the tape that it was supposed to be.
It was just a placeholder. It's like, there's an empty case. Let me throw this in. Let me throw the Best of the Monkees in the Brian Wilson tape case. So, it's true. Different times, and it's funny that I was talking about the nostalgia factor. When I was reading some of the reviews, a lot of people were saying that too. They were kind of like, "This takes me back to a time before cell phones and before the world changed." And so there is this wave of 90s kids, not forget about the adults, but of kids that grew up with this music that are now, as adults, nostalgic for it and saying, but you were in college.
Yes, I was.
So I'm guessing these people might have even been a little younger, and they're kind of like, oh, this, I'm an adult now, I've got responsibilities, but back then it was kind of like, we didn't have all the distractions. There was the internet, but in 98, the internet wasn't anything like it is.
Well, here's something to that. My son Jake wishes he were a 90s kid. And he's only 19 years old, and he like when he doesn't he hates his generation. Like he wishes that he loves the music of the period, the movies of the period, everything that he's a big Tarantino fan. He's he's so envious of my older boy, Zach, that he's like, oh, you had all the best stuff, and it's like it's just
please tell your son to hold my beer. He's gonna say
Well, yeah. I mean,
visit us in the 70s.
I set them straight on that, of course.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Otherwise, I'll have to drive down there, and I'll feel like driving.
Both of them.
I feel like driving 5 hours to straighten them out. All right, let's do it. I mean, for me, it's going to be easy. The first three, I mean, the hits, like, and acoustic number 3 is beautiful. Bulletproof, like Chris said, bulletproof. The Resnick stuff really is a cut above. And for me, so if you like that, you're gonna. If you like Slide and Broadway, the rest of the album isn't much different except for the Robbie stuff. But like true punk songs, they're kind of short anyway.
Yeah, they are.
So he does keep that aesthetic at least. He kind of gets, they're kind of driving. They're all like really up tempo. They're dun, 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 so you get through it, and then you get more. So more
Iris is the longest track on the record. Yeah. At 4:51, yeah,
and very far into the album for like the hit. Like you never see a hit that big that far,
which is nice though, right?
I think it's awesome. I think it's a cool sequence
because they give you a bunch up front, and then they're like, well, we're gonna hold the ace. We're gonna hold the ace back in the deck a little bit.
Yeah,
we're not gonna deal out blackjack every hand. We'll hold on to this one for a little bit, which is nice because it's really it's literally almost at the end of the album, so you kind of get something good. Any highlights, Eric, that are different?
You said it. Like I said, I mean, Iris will always be the song for me, and it's biggest hit. But like you say, Black Balloon, I love. But I like All Eyes on Me. It stands out. It doesn't sound like the punkier stuff. It sounds to me like an 80s track. Like it's like it doesn't really quite belong. It's like, to me, that's like the outlier of the album because it's so different from the two, other styles. So it just that feels like it might have been tacked on. Maybe, I don't know. They were
tacked on.
Yeah. But it just has that very distinct sort of. It's a slightly lighter punk vibe, but it has almost new wave, in that way. There's little keyboard, those little notes that that hit there, and so I dig that. I don't know why, it just that kind of stands out for me.
Yeah, like I said, there's not much that you're going to go wrong with. Chris, I want to hear what your
I really like
or your low lights, in my opinion.
I like Full Forever.
God,
there's like three song stretch in the middle. Like I like Am I Gone, I like All Eyes on Me, and I like basically to me there's not a dead spot on the record, but the one that I kept coming back to, believe it or not, was Am I Gone.
Okay.
And I think it was the bass line and the tempo, and I
could see
his
that.
voice. Yeah. His voice is a little bit, I know how you feel about it, but like the background vocals on that song were really cool too. Like it reminded me of like a classic, like maybe a little bit of an older punk tune. Like that one, out of all of the other hits and Johnny Resnick stuff, Am I Gone is the one that to me, like I was a nice surprise when I put it back on for the first time in a really long time.
I mean, if I had to pick one of his songs, I'd pick Extra Pale because it's 2 minutes and 12 seconds.
So
did I say that out loud? I don't hate it. I'm ragging on it a little bit.
So this is great. I love the fact that there's.
Yeah, I knew that it was for me. It's the Achilles heel. You take those songs out, you have I would put it in masterpiece area because of the consistency and what it's trying to do. I respect that those songs are in there because of what it's trying to do. Also, like there's different there are different means to an end. And I get it. And I get it. That's where they're from. That's what they were. That's what I was playing in college.
Yeah.
So if it was good enough for college, Dean, it should be good enough for 1998. Devil Without a Cause listening. If I'm going to listen to Devil Without a Cause, I got no excuse to be complaining about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of those ones where you're like, what was I thinking when I put this on?
I used to play that thing all the time. I played that thing constantly, Devil Without a Cause.
Not for nothing. And I hate to admit this, but I really liked the first two Limp Bizkit records too.
Yeah. All right, well, there you go. the Dookie, or the Nukie. Whichever one it is.
Yeah.
He's had a resurgence. All of a sudden, Fred Durst is like respected.
Yeah. Well,
they used to just constantly shit on that guy.
I mean, to me, the secret of that band was Wes Borland was like a really innovative guitar player, and like all of the other shenanigans kind of took away from that.
Yeah. Now I understand why you wear the hat backwards. It makes sense now. Now that you mentioned Limp Bizkit and now the hat is backwards.
Yep. That's it.
I got it. I made the connection, sir. All right.
Yep.
I think that's going to do it for this episode of 3324 Podcast. Check this album out. It's not available on all the streams. I was listening to this album on YouTube Music, and Iris has like 1.5 billion streams on YouTube Music. So I shudder to think what it has on Spotify or Apple. It's got to be in the multiple billions,
on Spotify, right? It has
probably 2.5.
2,767,288,707.
Did I just call that? I said 2.5.
Yep.
So yeah, so it's a monster song, and if you remember, and if that's the lead-in that you need, I would take that lead-in to listen to the whole album.
Yes,
because yes, is it emblematic of that time? It absolutely is. It's that the pop alt stuff that was, like we said, Third Eye Blind and all that kind of stuff that was.
What was good about it? Not like the overblown like schmaltzy stuff. It's like what was good about that era of like alt music and alt pop and that stuff.
Yeah, there was still an edge to it. It was still kind of, again, it's a matter of degrees. There was stuff that was much more popular, like Sugar Ray.
Yeah, glossier. Yep.
Like there was room for everybody, but these guys were kind of skirting that line where there was, like I said, his voice and his lyrical content had a little bit of an edge to it, a little bit of a little cynicism. It wasn't "Steal My Sunshine."
Yeah.
So, all right, I think that's going to do it. What do you think? Any closing thoughts, Chris?
No, man. Like I said, it was a cool nostalgia trip to do this record. It definitely was, and like I said to you when I emailed you the other day, like I popped it on my commute, and I was like, I really forgot how truly great this album is. It kind of gets
a lot. I think a lot of the late '90s stuff gets lost because it seemed like things were adrift, but we went over what albums were out. It was squarely there. Eric, any final thoughts? To close it?
Yeah, nostalgic wise, that's when I met my wife. So yeah, songs like Iris were definitely, in the rotation, as it were. Yeah, it's a special song. Maybe not so much the album itself, but I mean, I think it's a great album, but it's just the song just will always stand up far and above, high and above.
In fact, that you bring that up, like Iris, I remember that was when the City of Angels soundtrack came out, and me and a bunch of my college friends went on a trip to Delaware, and that was on that trip. I remember that was when I decided I was going to ask my wife out for a date. It's like one of those songs that when you think about it, yeah. So
here's the thing about back to City of Angels. It's like my wife is not really a album person per se. She used to listen to. She used to have you buy 10 CDs for a penny kind of thing. The whole Columbia House thing.
Yep.
So she had a lot of these albums, but never really listened to them intently. The songs is what sold it. You could make a playlist of basically all the stuff, but those particular soundtracks were always great because they had stuff that I liked on it, stuff that was in her wheelhouse. So it was that kind of laid the groundwork for our relationship in that way. So it kind of helped that along, So I thought
the budding romance.
Yeah.
Of Chris and Eric, not Chris and Eric together, but individually, separately. I feel like I need to make up a story. Like, I was,
Yeah. Most of my musical taste actually my wife loved me in spite of. So
there you go. Well, then we're going to leave it there. She's a keeper.
Absolutely.
She loves you in spite of your musical.
There you go.
She's a keeper.
Yeah. She won't be going to Steve Hackett with me at the end of the month.
God. All right. She bringing a pillow?
Yeah, if she did, she'd probably have to.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Are you seeing him with? Is it with Genetics?
No, he's playing with his own band. He actually has Nick DiVirgilio playing drums, and he's the drummer that played on the Calling All Stations tour.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so are they doing a lot of stuff from the Lamb?
They're doing a good, not everything, and there's definitely songs I would like to see them do from the Lamb, but it's Lamb highlights and other Genesis tunes, and then he always comes out, and the first set before the intermission is always his solo stuff, which is fantastic.
See, Dean is right now. He's
there we go.
He's trying to get Chris into ELO, but Genesis always. always pops up in the conversation if Chris is on board. So
that's going to do it for this episode. We do have an ask. I said in the beginning, there's this contact us or fan mail on your app. Go ahead and let me know if you're Team Robbie or Team Resnick. Did we divide the audience like Eric thought? Are people really loyal to the classic sound of the Goo Goo Dolls, or are you with Team Resnick? Let us know. You can just go ahead and contact us. We won't be able to get back to you, or you can hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube and let us know as well. So that's going to do it for this episode of the 3324 podcast. Mr. Christopher Clark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man. It was always a pleasure.
Yeah. It's a great conversation, guys.
The Nuki.
There you go.
Yep.
And of course, Mr. Eric Cooper and I will be in our chair. I'll be in my chair. He'll be on his comfy sofa with the Rocky Horror Picture Show behind him. And until we meet again, we look forward to seeing you. Again, sharing is caring. So go ahead and do us a favor. Share this episode if you liked it. For Eric, for Chris, this has been Dean. We will catch you on the flip side.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Eric Cooper. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 podcast and on Twitter at 3324p to join the conversation.